Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is the review of threes. Yes, there are 6 games here, but there's 3 on each side. There's 3 roll and writes. There's 3 polyomino games. Most of these games, 3 of these games I'm keeping, 3 of these games I'm not keeping. All of these games have a 3. Well, technically, one of them has a 3.5, although that one, I even debated giving it a 4 to 5, but shrunk it down to a 3.5 instead. But let's go ahead and dive into this. I'm going to jump into these, whatever random order I choose to do so, and I will say that, I enjoyed all of these games. They were all fine. They were all enjoyable. We'll talk more about my opinions. I will not go heavily into the rules for each one, but let's start off with House of Cats. And of course, timestamps and thumbnails. I don't know why I said thumbnails. Timestamps and links to everything down below. I also have Skulls of Sedlick here because I recently went traveling and I forgot that was in there. Good thing I caught that. But either way, over here, House of Cats. House of Cats is a game that has not 3 different levels, but rather 4 different levels in the game. You're going to have, let's see if we can pull off some pads over here. You're going to have over here, we have level 1, we have level 2 on the other side, we have level 3 over here, and level 4. Now, all these levels, let's zoom in a drop more. All these levels have the same core concept in the way the game works, and just slight different rules past that. What you're going to be doing is every single game, you're going to pick 4 of these tiles randomly, and they have recommendations for starting you off, but you're going to go ahead and draw these onto your pad as these various abilities. These are abilities you can earn, and it's coming from a stack of like 14 tiles, something like that, so a whole lot of variability in the game. Past the fact that you have 4 levels, you also have different tiles and configurations, and even the order of the tiles will change the way you'll play the game. You're going to go ahead and roll these dice over here, and then you're going to select 3 of these dice. You know, the game of 3s, I told you this was 3s over here. You're going to select 3 out of the 4 dice over here, and you're going to draw them onto your grid. So for example, I could put the cat, and then the 3 and the 5, or I could do the 3, 4, and 5. However you want to do this, you're going to adjust those dice. The numbers are 2, 3, 4, 5, a cat, and a rat in the game. Or maybe it's a mouse, not entirely sure. They like cheese, but I think both like cheese, so who really knows? Either way, you're going to go ahead and put these down into your grid, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to create rooms. So as you draw, let's say I rolled a 3, 4, and a 4 over here. Maybe I go ahead and put down the 3 here, and then the 4 and 4 over here. You have to have them all connected, but the next roll you can go ahead and separate out. Now we have 5, 5, and 4, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw the 4 over here, and then the 5 over here, and the 5 over here. So we're creating a group of 5s, and we're creating a group of 4s. We're going to go ahead and roll again. Now we have a 3, 5, and 4. So this time round, I think we're going to ignore the 3. We're going to take the cat, the mouse, and the 5. We're going to put the 5 down in this column over here. We're going to put the mouse down in this column over here, and it's going to draw a little mouse over there. That's going to eat the cheese in the row and column. That's the way the mice work on this level. And the cat will go down over here, and then as we continue to earn cats, we're going to get points, but also earn numbers we can put into the grid. Now, whenever you have a room, let's pretend we had another 5 over here, and we go ahead, boom, we have a 5. You would close off that room. You now have a room of 5 5s, which means we've now earned the 5 ability, which is now, at any point, because the 5 ability is the rat that turns into a number, so at any point now, we can use this ability, we can circle in fully to at some point in the future convert a rat into any number of our choice. All these abilities give you different things you can utilize, putting in different patterns over here, being able to put a die separately on the board, being able to take pairs and put an extra number. They all have different abilities you're going to have, but the basic idea is at the end of the game, each room scores a variable number of points, 1, 3, 5, or 7, depending on the values rolled. You're going to score points based on how the specific scenario scores. So that's for example, different scenarios score differently. Over here, the cats go in the bottom row, and mice eat rows and columns of cheese. Over here, you're going to want to have cats within the same rows and columns as mice. That's how mice are going to score for each row and for each column. You're going to score for mice if there's a rat, if there's a cat in that row and column. And so you can have different abilities, slight different changes to them, all as you ultimately roll dice and try to fill your polyomino grid as efficiently as possible in House of Cats from Imported Games. I enjoy House of Cats from Imported Games. It is a roll and write that's fun. I like the high degree of variability the game has. There is a high degree of variability. The fact that you have 4 different levels and every level is going to have different abilities, and then of course you have to roll the dice, means this game just gives you a strongly variable experience. What it doesn't do is it doesn't give you a procedural experience, meaning roll and writes I find fall into one of 2 territories. There are roll and writes that cascade upon each other, that as you do things it unlocks more and it becomes an intricate weaving experience, and there are roll and writes where you just do the thing until the game is over. And I find that roll and writes that do the thing until the game is over, there are very few that work for me. That's not true. There are some. There's like, Railroad Ink works for me in that sense. Welcome 2 works for me. So some do have a degree of escalation, but I find that I am pickier when there's not a degree of interweavingness. When the game is not as intricate, I am pickier about what does and doesn't work for me. I've enjoyed House of Cats, and I have strong pros about the degree of variability to the experience. Ultimately, I find that the roll and write scene is very crowded, and House of Cats is good, but I don't know if it stands out for me within that space. It's a 3 out of 5. I've enjoyed it. I've had fun going through it, and it's one that I'd always happily play because it's just a charming, good time with a high degree of variability to it, but the actual puzzle past that doesn't feel as intricate as I would ideally like, and so House of Cats is a good game. I like it, but it's a 3 out of 5. From there, let's go ahead and dive into Number Drop. Number Drop is another one of our roll and writes. I said there's 3 roll and writes. I said there's 3 polyomino games. House of Cats I'm counting as a polyomino game. I might be pushing a bit, but let's say it's a polyomino game. What's my other roll and writes? Yeah, I'm good so far. Okay, Number Drop. Number Drop over here is going to be a Tetrisy game. You're also going to be doing a very similar thing. Very, very similar concepts in here. You're going to go ahead and have this number board. Now, I'm not going to explain the number board heavily because, frankly, that would be the most confusing part of the review to actually dive into. I'll get into it lightly, but you're going to have these tiles that kind of go into this grid over here and slowly slide down, and this represents the idea of sending things to your opponent and or blocking those things. Also plays differently in solo mode or not solo mode, depending on how you're doing it, but the basic idea, ignoring that for a second, is you're going to go ahead and roll these dice over here. You're going to roll these dice, and then you're going to draw numbers in the shape shown. Where's my pens? Where's my pens? My pens are in House of Cats, so we're going to have to go here and grab a pencil, and draw that. But what we're going to do is we have a 1, 3, and whatever numbers we want. Now, similarly over here, you're trying to create either patterns of the same, like you had in House of Cats, so 3 3s, 4 3s, etc. Over here, you're trying to create ascendant numbers. So, for example, with a 1, 3, and all those numbers, I can go ahead and do a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. Now you may have noticed I drew them into this shape, and yes, you can mirror, flip, reverse, rotate, and all that, but that's the shape we have, and over here we're drawing these up. Now depending on what stars you roll, this is going to determine how the various boxes you have in here, how these adjust in the game. You're going to be moving these down as you roll different shapes over here, so you're going to move it down over there, and that is going to affect how you send blocks into each other as you play the game. We're not going to heavily get into that. What you do need to know is that as you earn both the row and column of these, well, let's keep going. Let's go for a bit more and I'll show you more. Again, this is the most confusing part. You kind of need to understand the rest of the game to understand it. We have a 1, 4, 5, and 7, and this time it's in that configuration. Now, I do want the 5 over here. The problem with putting the 5 over there is if I do that, I'm going to lock everything off. So that's really not the best, honestly. Really, honestly, this is totally not the best. We could go ahead and throw the 1 over here, the 4, and the 5, and the 7 over here. So now we have that box over there, and we're going to not complete anything because we could complete the 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what, honestly, you know what, we're going to go ahead and complete the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go ahead and complete the 1, 2, 3, 4, drawing a shape around it, and because we've done that, we've now go ahead and we mark off that we have done this box over here. We're going to go ahead and roll, and keep in mind other players are going at the same time as we do all this, and now we have a 1, 3, 6, and star. Okay, great, we can work with that to a degree, and that specifically is that shape, which again I don't love, but we could put this 6 down here. Basically, you're putting these numbers into that shape in whatever configuration you want to pass that. Now, the problem is we have a 1, 3, and 2, so what I could do, because we have 1, I could do 1, 2, and 3. So that's the shape pattern I did over here. So those 4 are sliding in there. It's falling down like so. I can't complete this 4, 5, 6, 7. Honestly, I screwed up already. I screwed up already because, strictly speaking, this would need an 8 to be able to actually complete, which is not going to happen over here. But either way, so we have the 1, 2, 3 over there we can work with. You know what? Let's go ahead and complete the 1, 2, 3. Let's call that a day. You can only complete 1 around, but that completes that one over there. Now, whenever you complete the same types, let's say we drew a 1 and a 1 over here, and we completed those 3 over here, then we can go ahead and mark off we've done those, and then we can mark off that we're safe from A. We either trigger A or we're safe from A. That basically means that certain numbers eventually are going to slide down here and drop onto your opponent's grids unless you've blocked number A from dropping. When you do that, you just have to put a sequence of X's on your grid. Now, we'll score the 2 points for completing row, which is what you have as you complete rows. Over here, you get -5 points for being up there. Game end will trigger once you cross that grid, and ultimately you're trying to get points from completing sets of numbers, potentially having bonus 10 points if you've done a full set of those, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You also have the 8-point bonus over here, and you're trying to efficiently place things down into your grid in a Tetris-style gameplay. It's fine. It's very compelling to actually play through this one from a pure sense of trying to create your structures and patterns. But I find that it falls into a very similar place as House of Cats, but with a bit less variability to the experience. I find that it's a game of throwing down your Tetrisy numbers into the grid. It is fun, it is enjoyable, there's nothing wrong with it. There's also nothing stand out about it either. It's Tetrisy, and there's lots of Tetrisy games. Lots of polyomino games are out there. This one is well done. It's a good game. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's another 3 out of 5. It's a good game, just not one that is a great game for me. I enjoy the puzzle of placing down numbers. I enjoy the dropping them and trying to create your grids. But it's a game that, for me, I played it solo. I played a multiplayer. It's a game that I was happy to continue playing, and I don't feel the need to continue to dive into it. I think House of Cats is a lot more compelling because of the variability that House of Cats gives you, but ultimately they do feel very samey in the experiential aspect that I have as a gamer. Both of them are 3 out of 5, good games. House of Cats gets bonus points for the variability aspect of it. Do we complete this side, or do we go, you know what, we're going to go with the third roll and write before we move on to the rest. Now again, that's 2 polyominoes so far. We're going to do the third roll and write, then we're going to do the third polyomino, and then we're going to continue from there. And in this game, in Boomerang, you are working with a very small grid of papers over here. This guy over here, that's the map you're going to be drawing on as you create routes and networks. But primarily what you're doing in the game is you're going to be drafting cards. So you're going to have 7 cards over here. You're going to go ahead, well, you have 28 cards technically, but you're going to go ahead and draft those cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's pretend we're doing a 2-player game over here. So 7 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to have the Phantom player just go ahead and draft their own card, which was gone now. And I'm going to go ahead and take one of these cards over here. And I'm going to look at these cards and I'm selecting them based on their number, based on the symbols they have, and based on the location on the grid. Right now I'm going to focus primarily on which symbol I think is most active, which we have cameras. I think I'm going to take the 4 over here. So I take the 4, it's going to go face down, we'll hand the pan of cards, and we'll have these shuffled up, and we'll have someone else take another card from it. Hopefully it didn't take that one card I wanted, but I'm going to look at these over here. Ideally I want more cameras. Ooh, no cameras. That is harsh. No cameras. Let's see what we got over here. We got a cow though. So because it's a cow, I think I'm going to go ahead and take this cow card over here. So we're going to take that and place it face up. Then we're going to take this hand back over here. Hopefully I still have the camera. I still do have the camera. I don't know if I care anymore. We're going to continue drafting cards. I'm just going to go ahead and take until we have 7 cards over here. We're going to continue drafting cards until you have these 7 cards. I'll try to do some degree of cohesion. Okay, we're going to throw that over there, and let's just do 2 more. We're going to go back to this one over here, and then back to this one over here. Okay, these are my 7 cards, and let's talk about how everything scores as we play through a round. You see, once you have your 7 cards, the main thing that you notice one card is face down, that's your drop card. Effectively, that's the card that's going to boomerang back to you. You're going to flip it up, and this card was a 4, and as long as your final card is the same or higher, you will score those points. So in this box, and you're playing this for 4 rounds, by the way, in this box, I will score 4 points because I got the final card higher or equal. If I had drawn a 3 as my final card, then I would score no points. But you score the points equal to the number chosen. So a 1 is guaranteed to score, but it's 1 point. A 7 is very unlikely to score, but it's 7 points. Past that, you're going to go ahead and look to see how many green souvenirs you have. So I have 5, 2, 2, and 1. Those are the numbers in case you can't see them. A 5, a 2, 2, and a 1. That's 10 points. That's great, except for one small problem. Next round, if I don't score at least 10 points, or at least 11 points that is, then I'm going to get nothing instead. You have to accelerate your souvenir collection each round, or you reset to 0. Which means next round might be a reset round, unless I can get to at least 11 points, and that could be hard. Honestly, 10's pretty good, so we'll see how that plays out. So you either want to escalate slowly across the game, or accept the fact that you will have at least one reset round where you score 0 points, and should just draft accordingly. Then you score for your animals as well. We only score for pairs of animals. So I have a pair of cows and I have a pair of fish. Cows are 4 points for a pair. Fish are 3 points. That's a total of 7 points over there for my pairs of animals. And then lastly, you choose any one symbol. I'm going to choose cameras, although I could choose cutlery. You know, I'm going to choose cameras over here, and I'm going to score for cameras based on this little chart down here. In this case, I have 2 cameras, so I score 2 points. Cameras cannot score the rest of the game. There's 4 rounds. I can only score 1 of these each of the 4 rounds. Lastly, I'll mark where I went on the grid. So I went to Q Nashville over here. Let me see if I can find this. Q over there. I went to A as well. I went to, L. You're going to be drawing lines effectively as you go based on the locations you visited. And the first person to visit all 4 locations in a zone gets a bonus 3 points. And if you go coast to coast, you'll get 7, 3, or 1 points depending on the order you did so. And that's basically how you score across 4 rounds of play. You get points for your Boomerang card, however that scores each round, points for your souvenirs, points for your sets of animals, points for, that collection aspect of the symbol, points for the, going coast to, getting points for these regions here, points for going coast to coast, and you get 1 point for every location you visited on the board as well. Sum that up across 4 rounds of play, and that's your game. Boomerang has multiple games in their set, all with slight different maps, small differences the way things work, but ultimately the same core concept as you go through this. It's a charming game. It's light, it's simple, it does the job. Lots of games in the genre out there. I think Boomerang is totally fine. I enjoyed it. Nothing special about it though. It's a good game. It's fun, and I had a good time with it. It's another 3 out of 5. Another game that falls into the good games, but nothing that really did anything amazing for me. But anyways, from there we're going to dive into the next 3. I said polyominoes. Let's do Goats Day Out. Goats Day Out was very charming. It's a 3 out of 5. I'll save you that up front over here. But it's a 3 out of 5 that... I think has a lot of charm as far as being a kid-friendly game. This is actually from Think Fun, which makes sense. It's a kid-friendly game. This is Think Fun, and this is the last Polyomino game. The third Polyomino game, and the first of the games that I'm keeping. Actually, that I realize it. If these three are all leaving, then these three are staying. So now you know some of your threes over here. These three are staying, including Goats Day Out. These three are leaving. They're all threes. There's 3 Polyominoes, 3 Tetrisy stuff. I didn't plan any of that, by the way. In this game, what you're going to do is you're going to grab a goat, and you're going to go ahead, and it's actually, now that I think about it, it's 3 rounds of play. You're going to grab a goat over here, and you're going to give all the players a goat. So all players have their own little goat, and more importantly, all players have their own little trash can kind of, I don't know why it's a road. Maybe that's because where they're eating. Either way, you're going to have these roads over here, and I'm not going to heavily focus on loading them up correctly, but I will throw a bunch of tokens onto the road. You're also going to have your scoring chart over here, where you throw down, your scoring markers on this, but I'm not going to focus on that. Just know that you score points, and we're going to put a bunch of tokens onto one of these trays over here, and then we're going to put them down onto our board. So you're going to put down 10 tokens onto your tray. You're going to grab a token. You're going to try to put it into your goat. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down like so. Done. Tray is going to pass. I get another tray. I take this token, and I'm going to go ahead and put this token down like so. That's a horrible mistake, but it is what it is. Tray is going to pass. I'm going to grab another token. This token is going to go down like, ooh, that's a bad place to put it. I'm going to put this one down over here like so. I'm going to toss that into the air. As the game comes around, I'm going to have to possibly get other tokens. Maybe I'll take this one, put it down here. That does not have any bite marks. I'll grab this one over here and put this down and try to put it down somewhere that isn't terrible for me, but I don't have a good option for that. So we're just going to put it down like, I guess maybe. There, done. We're doing it. We're doing what we're doing here. We're placing down the Polyominoes. Basically, you're drafting Polyominoes around in a circle, giving players their trays, having your own goat, and filling up your goat with various pieces of trash. Now, the way you're scoring for this in the end of the round is you're going to score 3 points for everything you put down into your goat. It's worth noting there are sections in the goat that are highlighted. When you fill in those, you either get to take a coin to put in your goat in a hard-to-reach place, or you get to take a stone, put in an opponent's goat, which is never fun, or you put a gold bar into your goat. So there's a few things you can do when you fill up all your black lines over there. Past that, you're going to score 3 points for every single thing in your goat, so you can get 3 points for that. You're going to score whoever has the largest section of blue, red, or yellow, and yes, some pieces count as both, so these will help connect different areas, but your largest section of blue, red, or yellow is going to score whoever has the largest. So if I have a 5 blue and you have a 4 blue, and someone else has a 3 blue, I will score 5 points for having a largest blue area, and you'll do that for each color. And then each player will score points for having their largest group of bitten objects. You'll see over here, we have different objects. This object has a bite mark in it, and any object, your largest group of bitten objects is going to score for every player, not just the player who has the largest one, and that will give you more points. Then at the end of the round, you're going to rotate goats, and then you're going to do that again so that players all have an opportunity to try different goats as they play through it, and that is basically Goats Day Out. It's another Polyomino game. It's simple, it's compelling. There's nothing magically amazing past it. Honestly, the biggest, cutest thing about this is the goats are incredible. I just love the various goats they have, just look adorable. I mean, if you look at these artwork over here, and then we have these two as well, I find the goats very charming, and I find that the rules are very light and accessible. To me, this is another 3 out of 5. Another game that I had fun with that did not wow me or impress me, but was a fun experience. The difference between this and some of the others is I think this one has additional degrees of merit as a kid-friendly experience. So to me, the main reason this one stands out is if I'm looking for a Polyomino game that I can play with my kids and they'll have a good time and understand it, this very much falls into that realm. I find that this is a lighter game than even Baron Park, which is usually one of my go-tos, but I find my younger kids, got something in my eye over here, I find that Baron Park is a game that my mid-range to older kids will appreciate and enjoy, and my younger kid will just put tiles down without understanding how to score. Versus this is one that my youngest, my 4-year-old, definitely did appreciate and enjoy and was able to get into, and very much requested playing this one again already. So this is Goats Day Out from Think Fun. Another 3 out of 5 for me personally, but a lot of charm and very kid-friendly. From there we'll move into Deep Dive. Deep Dive is not falling into any of the rules of threes we've talked about, not that I can think of. I don't think there's any rules of threes in this one. I mean, past the fact that it's one of the 3 games that's staying. Deep Dive is coming to you from AEG and Flat Out Games, and it's a push your luck experience. It's the only push your luck experience we have on this table. And basically, I'm not going to set this up. It would take too long to do this one over here. What I will do is actually, these will set up a little bit by themselves. We'll take some of these out over here. We'll take some of these out, and we'll put a few tokens down onto the board, and we'll just show you some degrees of depth. There are 5 degrees of depth, if I recall correctly, in this ocean, but I'm only going to set up the first 3 so you can get a sense of how this plays out. So you're going to set up, and there's a bit of a setup time of how you manage this, but you can see there's various pips on these tokens over here, and we're going to set up 1 more depth so you can get a sense, but again, you'd have a full 5 depths normally. I'm going to put these out over here, and we're going to go ahead and start the process of diving deeper into the ocean with our penguins. This, like I said already, is push your luck. Every player will have 3 penguins. I'm going to grab a penguin over here, and I'm going to say I'm flipping over this tile. I don't want this. I want to go deeper, so I'm going to flip over that tile. Ooh, that's a rock. I'm going to keep going deeper, and I'm going to flip over this tile. Unfortunately, I landed on a predator. My penguin is now stuck on the predator. Someone else goes ahead and goes, and they take their turn. They could straight up take this 2 over here. They could take that, but they'll flip something else over. They got bubbles. They have to go further into the ocean. They got that. You know what? They're going to go ahead and grab this and take it, and they're going to return retreating to the surface with that 4-point tile. This is going to go into the set collection as they play, and it's back to my turn. And I'm going to go ahead and go over here, flipping this over. I got a rock. You know what? I'm actually going to grab the rock so you can see how that rock works next round. I'm going to go here, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and flip over this tile. That's a 1. I'm going to flip over this tile. That's a 2. I'm going to go to the deeper ocean over here and unfortunately landed on a predator. My guy is stuck over there. Back to my turn. I'm going to discard my rock to go directly to the lowest part of the ocean. You can discard a rock to go directly to the lowest part of the ocean. I got this 3-point tile, which feels kind of weak for what it is, but I'll take it because we don't have a 4 and 5. But you can go as far down as you want with those rocks, skipping various sections of the board. That's basically what you do. There's predators at every level, but the further down you go, the more things are worth, but there's more opportunities to land on predators along the way, and often more predators at those levels. You're going to be trying to get sets of animals over here. So we're going to do sets of colors, I should say. So over here, there's a predator on the first level. Oh no. We're going to throw some of these tokens down here until I find you some more that I can play with. I need a green. Here we go. So we have a green, yellow, and set over here. That's going to be worth the full 4, 3, 4 for 11 points. But any incomplete sets, if I have this over here, because it's an incomplete set, it would only be worth half of it, which means 1 point. As you grab tokens, you're lining them up and creating sets as you go. Bubbles force you to go further. Rocks let you go skipping different areas. Also, if you have animals trapped on predators. Let's pretend we have the situation over here. So if we have, grab a 2 tile. If we put down a tile over here like so, if I have a token, if I have a fish locked at that level, I can skip that level. I can flip over this, see what's going on, and then I can skip this level entirely, going straight to this level because somebody was locked in that level. So whenever you have one of your penguins at a level, it does help you navigate. Once all 3 penguins are trapped by predators, let's pretend this was over here, at that point you can go ahead and grab any face-up tile as you retreat all your penguins. Any face-up tile from one of the levels you had a penguin, you can grab that. So at the end of having 3 penguins trapped, you do get to recall them and pull back some penguins. That's just how you play Deep Dive. It is simple, push your luck, just has you jumping down, grabbing tiles, and you know, trying to see if you can get sets of colors worth points. So what do I think of this one? It's fine. I'm not overly compelled by Deep Dive. My biggest complaint against it, honestly, is the setup is way too complicated for a game that is so simple, and it's a simple game. It's a simple game, nothing wrong with a simple game, but I find that the setup has too many steps of things you have to do to balance around player count and to, like, you know, put tiles out, but then remove tiles based on distribution. So I think the setup I would almost always just ignore. Like, I would ignore their go-to setup, and I would just say, okay, well, you know, depending on the player count, you have that many tiles in play, but I wouldn't go through these sets of tiles the way they did it, primarily because I just don't care enough, not for the weight of the game. Will it be less evenly distributed? Yes. Is there a risk that you'll have different degrees of predators and stuff like that in the game than you should? 100% yes. But I would skip the setup because, again, the game is not heavy enough for me to care about going through those hoops in order to get the most balanced experience. It's a push your luck game with a high degree of luck. I don't care. I just want to get to it as fast as possible. For me, this is a 3 out of 5 again, which I guess tells you what the 3.5 is in this video over here. But it's another 3.5. It's another 3, but it's one that I find this token's getting stuck over here. Something's getting stuck on the edge. We got a bag that refuses to bend down. But anyways, so I find the game is fun, it is simple, I just find that there are other push your luck games that I personally enjoy. The reason this isn't sticking around is because my daughter really likes it. I've had fun with it, but I wouldn't keep it myself. My daughter likes it though, and has already started playing this one with friends. It is simple, it is easy, and it's just charming. It's push your luck with very light rules. I'm not overly impressed by it, but I also didn't dislike it, which is honestly most of this table. Then we go to Splito from 20th Century Games, which is the one that I even debated giving this a 4 to 5. I really like it, as a few things that I enjoy a lot. First of all, it plays in like 15 minutes, it teaches in 5 minutes, and it's it has a degree of teamwork which I enjoy. The teamwork that you've seen in games like Castle of Mad King Ludwig, or, well, games like that. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to go ahead and grab some tiles first. We're going to put a token down here. This is a public scoring goal. I don't know why I called it a token though. And we're going to find one with the sun. Boom, there we go. We have a sun and moon public scoring goal. Then we're going to shuffle up the rest of these and then give players cards, and then they're going to start placing them. I think it's 13 cards. I'd have to double check, but we're going to go ahead and just grab a bunch of cards. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at your handful of cards. I'm not going to count them out. You're going to select a card, and you're going to put it into your left or your right. And your left is going to be one pile, your right's going to be another pile, and depending on how you do, you're going to multiply the score of your 2 piles, which means you do want them evenly distributed to win. So in a 3-player game, I'm scoring these 2 piles, the other player scoring those 2 piles, last player scoring those 2 piles, so everyone's trying to min-max their scores as they try to build with their teammate, but also doing their own thing. So right now over here, I have a handful of cards and no goals. But I do know that whoever has a strict majority of greens, which I have none of, ironically, or a strict majority of ones, which I have none of, the statistical chances of this hand with no goals and none of my cards fitting those is mind-boggling. But hey, that's stats for you. I'm going to go ahead and grab any one of these. There's a whole bunch of 6s, so let's pretend that let's pretend we'll go for a 6. Let's take this 6 over here. I'm going to toss it down there, pass this over here, and grab a whole bunch of new cards and see if we get a little luckier. So over here we have more things going on. So first of all, we have 1s. We also have, greens, and we have goals. So because I have a green 1, I'm actually going to take that. I'm going to put it into a pile on my left and then continue passing this. We're going to go ahead and go back. I'm going to try to create, a bunch of piles here as we go. I'm going to go ahead and grab another one. I'm going to take a look over here. This one wants a card of each of these 3 colors. I already have that, so maybe I go for that. This one wants exactly 6 different values. It's early. You know what? Let's go for that. Let's go for exactly 6 different values. I'm going to throw this down into this pile here. Basically, as you go, you're creating piles of cards. Now, if every player has 13 cards, then on average, each scoring zone will have 13 cards. But that is on average because I could play all my cards to one scoring zone and then have one be depleted. Wouldn't necessarily be strategically sound, but it could happen. So when you get to the end of the game, you're not actually going to have 13 cards per scoring zone. You'll often have 15, 13, and 11? Is that the math on that? Whatever it is, you'll have an uneven distribution of cards in the different scoring zones, and then you're going to score each zone on its own. Basically, you're going to say, okay, great, does this zone have exactly 6 different values? If we have the 5, the 4, the 1, and then other cards, if we have 6 different values, we score 4 points for that zone. And the problem is, by the time you're done, maybe you have all these points over here. Meanwhile, this guy got both of these over here, plus some additional scoring goals from over there. And so you look up your total number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, times, ironically, 9, and that would be my score of 81 points because I multiply my 2 zones based on how well they did. You're scoring for the 2 public goals, which are always going to be a strict majority of a color and a strict majority of a number. And then you're going to score for the goals you managed to create with your teammate, multiply those together, and get a score. 81, by the way, is a good score. I've seen winning scores as low as 60, and I've seen winning scores as high as 120-ish, or whatever the exact math was. But this is a fun, simple game, all about trying to create with your partner scoring goals that you think you can get to. The fact that you're going to be drafting cards as you go also gives you a degree of being able to pass cards to one of your teammates and see how it plays out. But for me, Splito, is that the name of the game? Splito is teaches in 5 minutes, plays in 10 to 15 minutes, and just it's one of those one more games. It's one of those games that you play a game and you're like, I want to play it again, and I want to play it again, and I want to play it again. It's the kind of game where I've sat down and then knocked out 3 or 4 games in a single row, and played it for 45 minutes straight just because it was easy to do so, and because you have that sense of wanting to do a drop better. For me, I debated between a 4 and a 3.5 in this one. It is solidly enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. It's easy to dive into. It's very, very, very accessible, and it's a good gateway game. It's one of those great travel games that you're like, hey, if we have 3 players, we can play this, and if we have as much as 8 players, we can play this one too. So it accommodates a large degree of player count, and it's just an overall good time. It's a great travel game, and honestly, if you just take out the cards, it's half the size of this box, so it's even better as far as being a good, accessible travel game. I did keep it at a 3.5. Ultimately, as much as I do enjoy it and I'm compelled by it, I think a lot of games do this, and this was... It's strong, but I think it's the kind of game I would give a 4, and then it would settle down to a 3.5. So right now I'm I'm giving it a 3.5 right now. Maybe over time I do say, you know what, it is a 4 and it stays there. But for right now, for today, Splito is a 3.5 and the best of this group of games, at least for me. And that is your 6 game roundup over here. A bunch of small walks, easy, accessible games. All of them are totally fine. But for me, the one that stands out the most is Splito. They all have different redeeming aspects. I think Goat Stay Out is the one that I think is the most kid-friendly, accessible, so that has that going for it. I think Deep Dive is fun, push your luck. I just have other push your luck games I enjoy more. And then these 3 are all fine. They're all fine. Roll and writes are a overused genre. An overused genre that means you have to stand out. And these are good games. I think if somebody walked into one of these games and was just playing it as one of their first roll and writes, they would have an excellent time. But in a world full of packed full of roll and writes, I don't think they stand out enough. But I also had a good time with them. In any case, I hope you found these reviews helpful. 6 short reviews, short-ish, in around 30 minutes or so. And until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.